What's up, guys? Welcome back to Project Time Garage. We're going to take care of a Kubota today. This is a Kubota L295 DT that I bought maybe, I don't know, maybe 2015, 2016, something like that. Gave like 1,200 bucks for it. It's a little 3-cylinder diesel, 4-wheel drive tractor. I put the implement on it, but you know, it's been a pretty good little machine. But I've had issues with the steering shaft on it. Currently, that seems to be the issue right there. Like I said, this is the second time I fixed this. Apparently, these things, apparently they collect water, you know, because of this seal right here. Maybe isn't sealing, or maybe it's just gone. But in this case, water intrusion is not my problem because this thing sits in the dry. It hasn't been outside. It hasn't spent a night outside probably since I've owned it. Anyway, like I said, this is the second time I've had to fix this issue. So we're gonna take the whole front of this thing apart, and we're going to replace the, I think we're going to replace the entire steering assembly in it. I bought a new steering box, a new steering shaft, a new steering everything except steering wheel. So I'm going to do that, but since it requires taking all this stuff here off of it, and since the tractor looks a little bit mangy anyway, I think maybe we'll run to TSC and grab some Kubota orange paint and maybe give it a little bit of a spiffing. Nothing crazy. I'm not going to like restore it, but yeah, I may stick some paint on there. Get it ready to till the garden this spring, and you know, I got a bunch of gravel down there that needs to be dragged back up the driveway on a somewhat regular basis. Anyway, that's what we're doing. Let's go do it. That was loose. So can you like get your arm under there and push up somehow, like kind of
going that way?
Just straight up like you're gonna try to take it off? Because if you can, I'm going to take this right here and beat the crap out of it.
Oh, it moved. That
was it. It's off. When I originally did this job, this is a L245 steering shaft and steering box, because the L295 ones, if you can find them, they're $1,500, but these are like $200. So it's barely a $1,500 tractor, so I'm not going to put that much into it. I think, if I recall right, it's been a long time, but I think what I did was I used the L245 steering gearbox and steering housing, and I think I used my L295 actual steering rod, because this is the one that's got the worm gear on the bottom of it. I think that's what I did. I think I used this because if you use the 245 one, it's very short, and the steering wheel ends up right at the dash, and you know, your knuckles hit about every time you turn the steering wheel, and you know, you'll tear a fingernail off. Not good. So I think that's what I did. I may or may not do that again this time. We'll just have to see what the problem is when we get in here. But anyway, now that the steering wheel's off, we're going to pull off this dash here. We're going to try to get this skin off. The gas tank has to come off of it because believe it or not, the steering shaft goes through the gas tank. So that's what we're doing. That freed up some room, didn't it?
Yep.
So that's a light bulb right there. That's a light bulb. Red, white. At least they, you know, unplug, right? Oil pressure line. Any of you diesel guys out there, if you if you know anything about glow plugs and you have a glow plug light, well, this right here is basically another glow plug, basically, in the system. And when you turn it to glow, you actually see this thing start to get hot, and it'll glow bright red when it gets really, really hot. You can put your finger down there and feel it's warm. And when you start to see it glow bright red, you know your glow plugs are bright red. You can start trying to start the engine. Old school tech. Probably a hell of a lot more effective than what we got today.
Mm-hmm.
Getting this cowling off here, I have a little bit of a different issue, because this is the capillary tube that that runs for the engine coolant gauge. So we're going to have to pull that out. Did any fluid come out?
Yeah.
Good.
Just a little bit.
Scary. Anyway, so that'll get this cowl out of here. You don't necessarily have to take the cowl out to do this job, but I do want to freshen it up and freshen paint on it while I got it out, so that's why I'm doing that. Anyway, you've got you got 2 bolts, one under here, one under the same place on that side. You can see them down in there, and then same place down in there. Those are out, and then these two supports here on the side, they've just got 2 bolts, one here, one here. That one's actually, that one's missing. I wonder where that one's at. So once that's done, the whole gas tank and cowl assembly is pretty loose. But what I'm going to do is, I believe, if I remember right, it's this bolt and this bolt that when you take those loose, the cowl will actually separate from the gas tank. So I can just pick the cowl up, get it off of there. Yeah, we need to probably grab this too. Ooh, that looked like to be the magic, didn't it? Gosh, how many threads are on there? I've been turning this thing for a week.
That's what I thought about the damn water thing.
All right, you should be able to pull that out now. Pull all the way out. Stick this back on so I don't lose it. Yeah, that's a nail. Nailed it. At this point, can we just feed the entire assembly, harness, and all right back through here? Yep, that's what it looks like, doesn't it? Oh, look, there's another nail. What is it with nails in this tractor? Let me get this capillary out. I'll break it. Put that away somewhere. Hey, you can. I'll put it on the garbage can. That seems very safe. We'll hook our gasket. Cool.
Yeah, 2 bolts over here.
Yep, should be 2 here and 2 here. He's pulling the fuel line off. The fuel shutoff's down on this side, and the hose crosses over and goes into the top of the filter housing. So he's pulling it off from there. At that point, we can just take the tank and lift it out and set it out of our way, and we'll be down to the steering box. This is what we're after right here.
More bolts.
Yeah. So I think before pulling this thing off is actually really easy. There's literally 4 bolts down here in the floor, and then that right there. And at that point, the whole thing just comes up. It's not a problem. But before I do that, I want to pull it apart here. I want to see what failed in it. If it's just as simple as the balls came out of the worm gear for whatever reason, or maybe the nut backed off the end of it or something like that, then I'll fix this one and we'll just go right back together with it. So we'll know here in a minute. Well, it's full of good, clean oil.
Oh, that ain't good.
That's water. Right off the bat, I see that I've got some damage to this worm gear here. I guess that's called worm gear. That is a problem, and that's probably the problem, because there's a bunch of little balls that ride in these grooves. And I think there is, if I'm not mistaken, there's a bunch of balls riding these grooves, and probably what's happening is this right here is messed up, and it's letting those balls like get bunched up. It's getting his balls in a bunch. Executive decision's been made here. This lower box is actually part of the original steering box for the tractor. This isn't new. So obviously what I did the last time was, I guess I pulled the steering shaft and all the internals maybe out of the other one and put it in this one, but this stuff's got a lot of wear on it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this box off and put the 245 one on there. And the only thing that's going to be a problem is this output shaft is a different size. So I'm going to have to deal with that somehow. I'm sure I'll figure out something, but either way, that's what's got to happen. That was easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, me too.
Nope.
You just had to beat the hell out of it.
That's what it takes. Usually when you hit them like straight on like that, it shocks them usually enough just to loosen up a little bitty bit. Then you can go on, do your worst. This spline shaft that comes out of this this steering box is actually smaller than what this drop link or drag link has, or pitman arm, I guess, whatever steering linkage has. So you're gonna have to find some way to fix that. And what I've done is I've put a shim around there, a fairly thick shim, and basically pounded it on there, and it's not going anywhere. The nut, let's talk about the nut. If you buy this steering shaft, you're gonna get this nut that goes on here. And well, if you notice, it doesn't have any threads. And that's because as soon as you start trying to torque it down to get any kind of torque spec whatsoever, in fact, it came with this this spring washer. Before I even had the spring washer flattened, it had already stripped. So I don't know what they made, but you know, it's cheap Chinese. What do you expect? So it's really, really soft and just absolutely terrible. So what I did, once I stripped that, because it's not hardened, I just went, I measured the threads on it. Turns out to be an M20 by 1.5. If you're doing this, this job, that's important. Go get you an M20 by 1.5 nut. I got mine at O'Reilly. It's a Dorman part number. You can just have them, heck, you can search it on their website. It's like 615-089 or 189, something like that. But just know M20 by 1.5 spindle nut, Dorman. And it's hardened, and it's even got the knurled ends to it. So when you get it tightened down, you don't need a spring washer because it, you know, it tightens, you know, it grips itself. It's a spindle nut. So that's where we're at. We've got all that back together. I've also filled it up with fluid, 7590 Lucas is what I put in it. So we're gonna go back together with the main parts of it real quick. I'm gonna clean up some of this wiring, and maybe we can do some beautification. Picked up some of this Rust-Oleum Farm and Implement paint that's Kubota orange, and I've gone ahead and I took the hood off and went ahead and taped up the emblems and stuff like that. And you know, I kind of sort of beat the dents out of it a little bit. I didn't go too crazy with it because, let's face it, this is not some rare Hemi-Cuda. This is a flipping Kubota tractor from the 80s. I keep having to remind myself of that because, you know, I keep wanting to maybe overdo it a little bit and just get way too crazy with it. So I'm gonna leave well enough alone. I'm gonna get some color on it. I'll do the same thing to the dashboard, and hopefully it'll look a little bit better. I don't know what I'm gonna do about the front end loader just yet, and the fenders. Part of me wants to just go ahead and paint them, and part of me says, well, I don't know, you know, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna get some color on this thing. Maybe it won't look quite so shabby. I'm gonna just kind of dust it first, because I'm sure there's grease and all kind of contaminants, because, well, let's face it, there's been a lot of time in prep. Well, Houston, we have a problem. See, the other day, this is fast forward a couple of days. The other day, I got everything painted that I intended to paint that day. This is the hood. It turned out pretty good. I just taped over my stickers and all, but it looks okay. There's my fuel door. And I got the dash put back on it, all painted up. All my gauges are on there. I even have working dash lights on everything. But my hood was too wet for me to handle. So I just kind of left it on the sawhorse outside since the sun was starting to shine finally that afternoon. And thought, well, heck, since the tractor's somewhat back together, I'll go ahead and, pull the gravel back up my driveway and move a couple of big rocks around and stuff. Get some use out of the tractor while I'm waiting on paint to dry, right? I was backing up the driveway using the front end loader to drag gravel back up. So I was just leaving the tractor in reverse low range. So I would drop the bucket, back up, get to the top of the hill, raise the bucket, push the clutch, coast down, and just keep doing that. Well, about the third or fourth time, maybe, no, probably more than that, probably more like the 10th time, I started to coast down. I was easing down the hill, and all of a sudden, the clutch just grabbed, just like I dropped my foot off the clutch, just all at once, crunch. I'm glad I wasn't going fast. I'm glad I was just easy going down the hill, because if I'd been moving along, that could have probably pitched me pretty easily. I don't know what exactly happened. Now, again, the clutch right now at this point is connected, is disengaged, engaged. I don't know. Anyway, it's like your foot is off the clutch. So in order to get it in here, I could just put it in reverse and start the tractor and back it in, and start the tractor and put it in first, or start the tractor in first and move it forward. That was easy to do, but I don't really know what happened. This is the clutch, and this is the linkage down here, and the linkage is moving. It's even moving on the other side of the tractor. That shaft goes all the way through and controls the safety switch. It's moving on both sides. So the shaft isn't broke. I was kind of reasoning through things to try to decide what may or may not be wrong. And it's one of two things. It's either the ears are broke off of the clutch fork, which surely that's not the case, or the pin that goes through there basically goes all the way through the clutch fork. And it has a washer that kind of looks like a half moon key, acts like a half moon key, acts like a Woodruff key. It basically uses that. I'm hoping that I just sheared that. Possibly, maybe, I don't know. Hopefully I don't have to split the tractor, because I really don't want to do that. Kubota gave you this little access door right here to look in, but you can't see anything from that vantage point. I've had my head back there 10 ways from Sunday and I can't see. But what I do remember is, when I had that steering gearbox off of there, I had an opening about that big that I could see all the way down to the clutch and everything. I could see the whole mess down there. That means all that stuff I just put on is coming back off, including the steering gearbox, so I can get down there and see what actually broke and pray that I don't have to split this tractor. Rather than you suffer through watching me take all this crap off that I've got to suffer through, I'm going to come back to you when I have it back apart again, and we'll show you down in there and we'll see what broke together. So it's apart, and I got really good at this after having done it the second time. But basically, if you want to have a look right down in there, you can see those, you can probably see those clutch fingers and how the ones on the bottom are already pressed in, while the ones on the top are not pressed in. That indicates that there's something in between the flywheel and the clutch friction disc. In an attempt to try and maybe let it drop out, I went ahead and adjusted the clutch linkage as far as it would possibly go. And basically got on the tractor, pushed the clutch, and started bumping the starter. No, whatever's there is there. So basically that's a very long-winded way of saying I'm gonna split this tractor. Yay. So I'm gonna formulate a plan. First thing I'm gonna do is order a clutch disc for it. And I guess I need to get the steering gearbox temporarily bolted back on it just for a minute, so that I can start the tractor and hobble it outside, because I want to go ahead and set this front end loader off of it. And really it's probably a blessing in disguise, because if I set the front end loader off, then I can go ahead and paint the front end loader while it's off the tractor. At least it'll look even better when I put it back together. It's just that this project has now spiraled way deeper than I ever expected that it would. This was supposed to be a quick and dirty, get your tractor running so you can till your garden and pull your gravel up your driveway this summer. Yeah. So I guess the next episode on this this little saga is going to be splitting it. So I'm going to end this video right here. Guys, appreciate you watching. If you haven't already done so, I'd appreciate if you would like, share, and subscribe, and tell all your friends about us. Guys, I'll see you next time.